In vanilla Skyrim, Staves was one of the most useless game mechanic, aside from maybe just a very early game. Not with the Sceptre of Mangnus, a Gandalf-like, extremely fun to play character build that can take down both huge crowds of bandits and the strongest bosses likewise. The Sceptre of Mangnus is a hybrid build that operates with the staff in the left hand and the sword in the right hand, and can use dual staves as well. While investing nothing into magicka, he can use the most powerful spells combined with the deadly swordsmanship, and both add an extra damage boost or support himself with a variety of crazily empowered staves. Let's see how. Race Altmer. The Gold and Glass passive ability is a double-edged one. It will be useful in early game and become nearly obsolete later, but it's not what we are picking Altmer for. It is for the next abilities. This build cornerstone is enchanting. We need to maximize it as much as possible, and both Elven Supremacy and Shimmering Threads will help us here. While the Shimmering Threads looks like an arguable feat for a build that will use a sword, its penalty will be overcompensated by the crazy Enchantments bonuses. The ultimate Altmer ability, Contingency, allows you to basically cast spells for free at certain conditions. I would recommend to use when casting a spell option. This ability will act like a damage burst addition. Standing Stone. Early and somewhat a bit in the middle game, till level 30 or so, I recommend to pick the Warrior Stone to raise one-handed and light armor skills faster and have a power attack bonus to get used to mostly playing through power attacks, as this will be useful later. Also, Warrior's ultimate ability is a great saving skill that will help you to instantly fully heal and buff yourself in various critical situations while the build is not yet fully developed. Starting after level 30 or around such, when you will get at least decent part of your build core perks, you will switch to the Atronach Stone. Its greater power will be also pretty useful against single very strong opponents, but mostly you want the Atronach Stone for its Oblivion Bound passive ability. If you have any magicka remaining, and you will always have it because you will not cast spells by regular means, your spells are 25% more effective. More about this detail later as well. Attributes, quite simple here. Your attribute points you spend as 2:1 ratio between health and stamina, without investing anything into magicka at all. Deity. In early game up to level 20 or so, this build is pretty much jack of all trades one, and also as you will not be investing into magicka at all, but will use spells in usual way at first, Julianus is the best call since it gives magicka boost and makes spells more effective and cheaper to cast. After level 20, swap to your main deity, Malakat. Your build core damage part will come from power attacks, empowered by spell swords autocasts, so Malakat bonuses that make power attacks stronger and cheaper in stamina is the perfect option here. On top of this, the ultimate Malakat gift is the passive ability that automatically heals you when you kill an enemy with an overkill damage. And the thing is that most of your kills will be so, as the build damage is focused on damage bursts. And this ability for healing is needed in this build as well, as it's pretty tenacious but still not quite a tanky one. See that unhealthy skinny dude on the central image above and a bit different shape to the sides. That's your humble. For the second half of my lifetime, my other most beloved hobby is a healthy sport, and I'm training multiple people locally and online, helping them to improve their health and body shape. Now see the gentleman below. He lost around 25 kilograms, 55 pounds, of excess weight in half a year, and then gained muscle mass and strength, both without exhausting diets and even visiting a gym, home training only. Additionally, he has a Mediterranean anemia as an inborn health condition. If he managed to do this, you can do it too. To lose excess body weight or gain muscle mass and strength, this is not as hard or boring as one may think. The healthy diet can be tasty and variative, and you do not need to visit a gym 5 days a week. Join the Gaming Gaing gang today to improve your health, body shape and general life quality. You'll get a personal diet and training plan together with a monthly curation and corrections that will take into account not just your goal, but also your personal health conditions. Check out the link down below in video description. Let's get to the perks, beginning from the core stuff. Your main perk tree is of course enchanting. Basically, you need to take all the perks here minus just 2, Might and Magic, because you will not be casting spells in regular way as already mentioned, and don't take Last Word as well, because you will not use scrolls. What about the spell situation though? Here is the thing. By Skyrim internal mechanics, any spell that your staff does is not technically a spell, but an enchantment instead. This is the exact moment that allows this build to shine so much. Basically, you will not need magicka at all after you will invest into the core perks, because you will not cast spells yourself. Your main repeating damage will come from various staves, and spells on those are affected not by magic perks, with a few exclusions, but your overall enchanting skill and perks. Your damage bursts will come from the Spellscribe perk, that autocasts a chosen destruction spell for free when using power attacks, with other bonuses to power attacks themselves, Spellscribe, and insanely strong enchantments on top. Your power attacks will become just the portable nukes. Other 3 most powerful perks here are You Shall Not Pass, that knockdowns enemies around you when chaining staff cast and regular attacks. Heart of the Sun, that drains your items charges but makes enchantments on them, and so also the spells on your staves you dig, much stronger. And the Charge Tab, that allows you to use your items charge as a healing source. It may look like you will simply run out of item charges completely in just a few seconds in combat in this way, but with how the build is made, you will actually not even need to recharge your weapons at all, as your items charge will regenerate faster than you will spend it. One-handed. Here you need the very left branch, the Disciplined Fighter perk from the second left branch, and the whole sword branch. Why exactly the sword? Once again, Sceptre of Mangnus is not quite very tanky build, so after the build core, we need to ensure as much survivability as possible, and swords perks offer some debuffs to enemies as well as fitting power attack bonuses. Destruction. Here you need the Destruction Mastery, Dual Casting, Harsh Lesson, Force of Nature, Elemental Specialization perks, and one of elemental branches of your choice. Again, from the perspective of survival, the Frost branch is the most fitting here, but of course that's up to you. Because of staff effects are enchantments and not spells, they will be affected only by a couple of perks here, those that affect spells and effects. But it's still much needed, because perks will affect your Spellscribe casts, which is the core of your damage bursts. In the Elemental Specialization perk, choose the same spell element as the branch you are investing into. Secondary perks. Light Armor. Take most of the perks, aside obviously the Unarmed perk branch, the Annoying Mosquitoes perk, because due to the constant area of effect damage from your spells, most of your enemies will just never be at full health. And also do not take the Evasive Leap perk. Light Armor perks will ensure that you will get some extra survivability, speed, which is important for this build, as well as occasional damage bonuses. Alteration. When you see fitting, take the Wild Shrine branch, minus the Monarch perk, to make your early game easier, furtherly improve your spell damage, and give yourself some additional survivability. For the Vellox's Dormant Arcana perk, choose the Armor as a trigger, it's the flash spells, and then Distraction Magnitude, Health Regen, and minus 20% enchant drain. Also take the whole central branch. For Alter Self resistances, pick Frost and Fire, and for Alter Self attributes, pick Stamina. In Restoration, as your last secondary perk tree, pick the Warrior's Flame branch, minus the Anti-Undead bonus perk and the Ultimate perk, because it will require a lot of magicka to activate, which you will simply not have. Also take the Overflowing Cup perk for an occasional extra max health boost. That's it. Let's see what kind of staves you will use and what spells and enchantments you should pick. Weapon enchantments and staves. Your only triple enchantment perk bonus has to be placed on your sword for the biggest burst damage possible together with healing. Place the Absorb Health, Power Attack bonus and the Black Ice, or another similar elemental enchantment if you picked another element in Destruction. Now to the recommended staves. The Whiteout Staff from Arcanum spell pack is great against large group of enemies for large lingering damage and magic resistance debuff. Staves of Frost and Shock Novas are great for general damage without having to bother about targeting. Staff of Ice Storms or Scorching Hands against strong single targets up close. Staff of Leech Seed, Apocalypse spell pack, and Withering for extra healing and complete enemy debuff when needed. And finally, Staff of Magnus for, well, you will see now. Different staves have different charge pool, and with the Heart of Sun perk, the more maximum charge your staff has, the more it will empower enchantments on other item in your second hand. As you can see, with some of our regular staves, our sword enchantment strength is 152 points of frost damage and drain, and 308 bonus damage to power attacks, which is already crazily good itself. But alternatively, you can equip Staff of Magnus. You will of course lose the ability to spam AoE cast of Frost or Shock Nova, but in return, due to Staff of Magnus having much larger charge pool, enchantment strength on your sword will rise up too. Yep, as you see it. 327 points of frost damage and drain, and 661 bonus damage to power attacks. That's literally 1300 bonus damage on top of your power attack itself and the Spellscribe spellcast proc. And that's, by the way, exactly how I was able to inflict over 7000 damage with a boss in just 2 seconds in this video intro. Armor and Jewels enchantments. Body, power attack cost decrease and bonus health. Boots, movement speed boost and healing chance per second. Gloves, weapon recharge and power attacks cost decrease. Helmet or circlet, less damage taken when your health is low and less damage taken when enemy health is low. Right hand ring, weapon recharge and the magic resistance. Necklace, weapon recharge and magic resistance too. Left hand ring, chance to avoid stagger and health bonus. Spells. For the Spellscribe perk, of course that's totally up to you, but my personal recommendations, considering the Frost element as your chosen one, is a Crystalline Spear or Chaos Fireball, secondary one against Frost immune enemies. Both spells are from the Arcanum spell pack. For the Okato Recital, there are two options, safe and aggressive ones. For the save option, store Ebony Flesh, King's Heart and the Healing Blossom spells. Both are from Apocalypse spell pack. For the aggressive approach, keep the Flesh spell as the first one, but take 3 rings, Apocalypse and Holy Shock, Arcanum spell pack instead. The Holy Shock damage effects do work on top of enchantments, so it will boost your damage burst outputs even further. Demonstration and playstyle. As mentioned already, this build is not unkillable, so you should not just rush into enemies without a second thought, but it is not a glass cannon either. Just watch your health, use charged up regularly, and if needed, break the distance quickly. You can do this easily considering your increased movement speed and slow down enemies due to your frost attacks, to get healed back in a few seconds by the fast passive healing. But that's the only precaution measure you should think about actually. In everything else, the Sceptre of Mangnus is probably one of the most insane damage dealers on par with even a modded stealth assassin character, but compared to the boring stealth playstyle, it is extremely fun to play as, versatile due to the large arsenal of both damaging and utility staves, and last but not least important, absolutely spectacular visuals wise, due to the cannonade of elemental explosions from many sources. You can also swap your sword for the second staff, should you want that. You will lose the joy of dispatching enemies in melee, but get more elemental damage to use at will. But no matter with this approach or with the regular staff and sword setup, you can easily vaporize any enemy, bandit crowds, animal packs, giants, vampires and the most strong bosses of any kind. That's it fellas, I hope you have enjoyed this build and will try it soon. Don't forget that there are many other modded character builds on my channel too. Check out the playlist linked down below in video description. Don't forget to enable channel notifications and join our Discord to always stay in touch. Stay tuned, stay safe and stay happy. Scimitar Gaming here, signing out.